In 1849, hundreds of thousands of people flooded into California chasing gold. They came from everywhere: farmers, sailors, merchants, desperate men with nothing to lose and everything to gain. They dug, they panned, they crawled through mountains with their bare hands, and most of them, they left with nothing. But there was one group of people who got extraordinarily rich during the gold rush, and they never touched a single ounce of gold. They sold the shovels, the merchants, the equipment suppliers, the men who figured out that when an entire world is rushing towards something, the smartest place to stand isn't in the crowd, it's at the entrance, selling everyone what they need to get in. Right now, in 2024, the world is in the middle of the greatest technological gold rush in human history. The gold is artificial intelligence. OpenAI is mining it, Google is mining it, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, every major technology company on Earth is digging as fast as they possibly can, and one company is selling all of them the shovels. That company is Nvidia. You probably know the name. You might even own one of their products without realizing it. But what most people don't understand is how a company that started by making video games look pretty became the most strategically indispensable company in the world, and how a bet that Wall Street thought was insane turned out to be the greatest business decision of the last 30 years. The story starts not in a gleaming Silicon Valley campus, but in a Denny's diner in San Jose, California, 1993. Three engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem, sit in a booth over coffee and sketch out the idea for a new company on whatever paper is available. Their goal is straightforward: make video games look real. At the time, 3D graphics in games are primitive, blocky, flat. The hardware simply can't keep up with what game designers want to create. Jensen and his co-founders believe they can build a chip specifically designed to handle the brutal mathematical workload of rendering three-dimensional images. Millions of calculations per second run simultaneously, all working together to put lifelike visuals on a screen. They call the company Nvidia, and the chip they're building is called a GPU, a graphics processing unit. Here's where the story gets interesting, because what makes a GPU brilliant for rendering video games also makes it secretly, quietly, without anyone realizing it at the time, perfect for something else entirely. To render a 3D image, a chip needs to run millions of smaller calculations all at the same time, not one after another in sequence the way a regular computer processor works, but simultaneously, in parallel. Thousands of smaller operations happening at once, coordinated together to produce a single output. This is called parallel processing. And it turns out that training an artificial intelligence, teaching a neural network to recognize patterns, generate language, understand images, requires exactly the same thing. Enormous amounts of math run simultaneously at massive scale. Nobody connected these two things in 1993, not even Jensen. But the chip they built to make video games look real was, without anyone knowing it, also the perfect engine for building artificial minds.
Fast forward to 2006. Nvidia is successful. Their GPUs are inside gaming PCs everywhere. The business is solid, growing, profitable, and Jensen Huang decides to do something that makes his investors deeply uncomfortable. He announces that Nvidia will spend billions of dollars developing something called CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture, a software platform that allows their GPUs to be programmed for tasks that have nothing to do with video games. The idea is simple in concept. Instead of a chip that only renders graphics, what if you could use that same parallel processing power for scientific research, for simulations, for data analysis, for whatever complex mathematical problem a researcher or engineer needed to solve? Wall Street is not impressed. The criticism is direct and loud. Nvidia already has a profitable business. Why pour billions into software for an audience that barely exists? Who exactly is going to buy a gaming graphics card to do science? The returns won't come for years, maybe decades. The costs are immediate. From a pure quarterly earnings perspective, CUDA looks like an expensive distraction. Jensen doesn't blink. He believes that parallel processing is going to matter in ways and applications that nobody can fully predict yet. He doesn't know exactly what CUDA will be used for. He just knows that the underlying capability is too powerful to leave locked inside a gaming box. For almost a decade, CUDA sits there, growing quietly. A small but devoted community of researchers, physicists, biologists, data scientists, start poking at it, discovering that Nvidia's chips can accelerate their work in ways nothing else can. And then, around 2012, something shifts. A group of AI researchers training a neural network called AlexNet plug it into Nvidia GPUs running CUDA. The results are staggering. The network trains faster than anything previously possible. The accuracy is unprecedented. The AI research community takes notice. Then the entire technology industry takes notice. The billions Nvidia spent on a bet that Wall Street called reckless had just retroactively become the most important infrastructure investment in modern computing history. Then comes November 2022. ChatGPT launches. In 5 days, it reaches 1 million users. In 2 months, 100 million. No consumer technology in history had ever grown that fast. And the race begins. Every major technology company on Earth suddenly needs to build, train, and run AI models at massive scale, which means they all need GPUs, which means they all need Nvidia. The orders flood in. OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon. The demand doesn't just exceed supply, it demolishes it. Companies are ordering chips 18 months in advance and still getting put on waiting lists. Elon Musk, building his own AI company, goes on record complaining that he cannot get enough Nvidia chips. The United States government starts treating Nvidia's most advanced GPUs, the H100, as a matter of national security, restricting their export to certain countries the way previous generations restricted nuclear technology. A single H100 chip costs around $30,000. A server rack full of them runs into the millions, and every AI lab in the world is ordering them by the thousands. Nvidia's revenue goes from $27 billion in 2022 to over $60 billion in 2023. Their market cap crosses $1 trillion, then $2 trillion. By 2024, Jensen Huang is overseeing a company more valuable than almost every other corporation on Earth. But here's what makes Nvidia's position truly extraordinary, and what their competitors are only now beginning to fully understand. The moat isn't just the hardware, it's CUDA. Over 18 years, the world's AI researchers have built their entire workflow on top of Nvidia's software platform. The tools, the libraries, the frameworks, PyTorch, TensorFlow, all of it are deeply integrated with CUDA. A generation of AI engineers has learned to build on Nvidia's ecosystem. Switching to a competitor's chip isn't just a hardware swap, it's rebuilding everything from scratch. Intel has chips, AMD has chips, even Google and Amazon have started building their own custom silicon, but none of them have CUDA. None of them have 18 years of researcher adoption, of software optimization, of an ecosystem so entrenched that moving away from it feels less like switching brands and more like switching languages. Nvidia didn't just sell the shovels, they built the only road to the mine, and they own every inch of it. Now, no empire holds forever. Google has its own custom AI chip, the TPU. Apple designed silicon that some argue is the most efficient in the world. A wave of startups is raising billions specifically to build chips that can challenge Nvidia's dominance. The threats are real. Jensen knows it. He says so publicly. He's spoken openly about the fact that Nvidia operates with the urgency of a company that believes it could become irrelevant at any moment. That paranoia, that refusal to believe the position is permanent, may be exactly what keeps it permanent. Because the same instinct that drove Jensen to spend billions on CUDA when nobody asked for it is the same instinct running Nvidia today. He's not just selling the chip that AI needs right now, He's already building the architecture for whatever comes next, for robotics, for quantum computing, for applications we haven't named yet. Back in that Denny's booth in 1993, 3 engineers wanted to make video games look real. What they actually built, slowly, stubbornly, through a decade of doubt and a bet that everyone around them thought was crazy, was the engine that runs the modern world. The miners of the AI gold rush are famous. Their names are in headlines every day. But the man selling the shovels, Jensen Huang, is quietly, calmly, extraordinarily wealthy. And he's not going anywhere.
Nvidia's story is really a story about patience, about building something nobody wants yet and waiting for the world to catch up. If you want more stories about the companies quietly running the world from the background, subscribe and tell me in the comments, which company do you think is today's hidden Nvidia, the one nobody's watching yet?